why the hell, I think a lot of us dentists have this question, and you probably know the answer to it. Like, why the hell is it so hard to like verify insurance, to, you know, see what benefits are there, to see, to like, they make it, is that purposefully done to make it difficult? Because I feel like it should literally be like all the payers are on like one portal and you can just search stuff easily.
Yeah. No, it's designed to not use.
Hey there, I'm Eric.
And I'm Alex.
We're just a couple of dentists who have been through it all.
From buying practices to startups.
From navigating the military to developing software.
And doing it all while still managing to stay married.
To each other, if that wasn't clear.
So if you're tired of watered-down dental advice and want real strategies at work, you're in the right place. Welcome to Just a Couple of Dentists.
So another evening episode, Alex. It's, what's a little past 7:30 here?
Yep.
Mountain time, right? I feel like these are always interesting. We either get like, people either like, oh, you're yawning halfway through, or they just get like semi-delirious, and then we go on like weird rants and say stuff.
That's mostly you. I just get quiet and I'm like,
I know,
I'm half asleep.
Yeah, that's true. You get
I'm so tired.
Quiet, and then we're like, oh yeah, is Alex still awake?
Nope.
Yeah.
And the answer's no.
But then we figured since an
these
evening
aren't
episode,
actual glasses. These are like have eyes. You know,
like
like the ones where you have
yeah.
like the little slits in the middle.
And then they just like bobble a little bit back and forth. No, we figured then we should bring on, so as we're recording this, it's like mid-May, but like maybe a week or two ago, someone we've had on the podcast before had posted on Facebook about meeting with, you know, I think Pacific Dental or something like that, and they were talking about DSOs and private equity, and because he's the previous ADA president, right, he's, you know, a figurehead in dental and people know him, and he got like destroyed for like 3 days straight, and I kind of felt bad on it. Like, I know when we're recording this, if anyone, like, we'll call him out if like Bob D's listening to this, I'm sure I'm gonna get a message from him telling me, why am I bringing him back on the podcast? So we'll see if he actually listens to us, if we actually get this here. But we wanted to bring Brett back on. There were a ton of other stuff we wanted to talk to him about that we didn't get to talk about on the first one. So we figured we'd bring him on and we can kind of segue maybe into like the shit he's been dealing with, and kind of segue that into like a bigger topic about, you know, private equity and DSOs, and from someone who's like been involved as the ADA president, is very involved in that whole space and had to make decisions based on that, and then kind of just shoot the shit on some other stuff. So Thanks for coming on, Brett. And the floor is yours.
Well, it's good to be back. We originally were going to talk about insurance reform, because after the last time I was with you for our discussion, there were a lot of questions about that and wondering what's the ADA doing about the insurance industry, the bane of all of our existences. We love it, right? No, we don't. So we were going to talk about that, and this was scheduled weeks ago, months ago, even probably a month ago.
Yeah.
And so a lot has happened in that month, and it's been quite a roller coaster.
So let's give everyone a background.
Because I didn't read the whole thing, because I only read things that are like a sentence and a half. And so I was like, oh, this is a long thing. And so it's probably important, but I'm going to scroll right past it. So please, yes, give us the background on the original post. So
I first want to level set that I am a past president of the ADA. I am not in leadership at the ADA in any way, shape, or form anymore. I've got 20 plus years of lots of effort in leadership at various levels, and that will never leave. That will never go away. My love for organized dentistry in the ADA will never stop. I've got a past president pin on here that no one can ever take away from me, but I'm speaking here for myself and not for anyone or any entity. And that's the first thing that I had to say, because that's the first thing that got misconstrued. So I attended, amongst other things, but I attended a conference that was for all of the doctors at PDS Health. And PDS Health is one of the largest DSOs in the country. They employ about 5,000 dentists. And what I really admire about PDS Health is they are working on a true medical dental integration type business model. It's something I'm very passionate about, and something I've been working on for since my since I did my general practice residency at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. It's very important to me. And I think it's the biggest opportunity. And we'll come full circle to that maybe at the end when we talk about insurance reform. So I went to that and, and I was interviewed on the stage, and I shared a bunch of the things that I was passionate about when I was president and my pillars. And, one of my pillars was a culture of respect. And that meant, I was really passionate about making sure that every dentist in this profession feels comfortable under the umbrella of the ADA. And it started out with the DEI type of activity. I was the chair of the DEI committee at the ADA before it got disbanded. But it expanded more than just race, color, gender, sexual orientation, age. It expanded to diversity of thought and diversity of practice models and things like that. And I went there to speak to the 5,000 dentists that work there and invite them to become members of the American Dental Association, because we need to have members. And that's basically what I wrote on the post. But the picture had me and Steve Thorne, their CEO. He's a really good guy. We've known each other a long time, and I've got a lot of respect for him and what he's built and what he's doing. Like I said, with the medical dental integration and the technology that they brought in, it's amazing. But it was really geared towards, the dentists hearing a message. And that's what I wanted to do. So, but the picture showed us on stage, and everybody went right into that. I'm in bed with the DSOs. I am in bed with private equity. I am pro everything that everyone is against. And it just spiraled out of control, which was, unfortunate. And then, it turns into a feeding frenzy, and you can't type your way out of a feeding frenzy. So I shut up. And it was interesting because I never mentioned anything about private equity, but that became the big focus. And then I found out a couple of days later that PDS Health has no private equity investors whatsoever, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that they did either. So like I had worked at PDS when I was waiting for one of my practices for our second practice to be built, right? So I needed to find a job, so I worked at a PDS office, and probably like for 8 months or 10 months. And I actually met for like 5 seconds. I got to meet Steve Thorne because they would take all the associate doctors and take them for a week-long thing in, Southern California, wherever they're, I forgot, was it Irvine maybe? Somewhere where their headquarters were, right? And teach you, tons of stuff, either their model. I mean, they taught a few different things, right? Like, but then he spoke there too, and like I said, he seemed like a good speaker. I don't know him personally or anything, just said hi to him really fast. So that's kind of my experience working with PDS in there. But yeah, I mean, I kind of read the post, same thing as Alex. Sometimes if something's long, I'll kind of like glance over it because I have like I'm like the in-between age where I'm not like 21 years old and I have like a no attention span, but I also still am like an elder millennial, so maybe like just a shortened attention span compared to like what normal should be. But yeah, I mean I didn't see anything like super offensive, but man, you're like, dude, I saw you like trying to comment back on some stuff, but it seems like the second you could comment back on something, there's 5 more comments about how you suck and you're a terrible human. I mean, I don't have my phone in front of me, but man, there was some mean stuff on there.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie, it hurt. It really did.
Sure.
And because I really put it out there to be a message of unity and unifying, the dentists that work there, and like I said, and hopefully have them feel more welcome under the ADA's umbrella, which many of them don't. And after what happened, I don't know if I'd feel welcome either, especially with what happened. But that what you saw was only a piece of it. I got so many really unfortunate texts and emails and messages, and it was really unprofessional and borderline harassment, and it attacked everything that I have ever stood for from people who have never even met me. And but whatever, I just blocked them and moved on. And when I'm on Facebook, I don't have time to sit and have conversations with 1,000 people all day long like some of these people do. I don't know how they make any money, because all they seem to be doing is harassing people on Facebook. But whatever, it is what it is, and I'm not gonna. It was disappointing. I figured that in a professional setting, with from professionals, some of the things that I got, I became all this stuff that I stood for became fodder for them, and it sucked that colleagues would do something like that. I've always had a saying. I learned this in my recovery world. It's principles over personalities. Attack the principle. Don't attack the person. Okay, because and that's unfortunate. But that's our culture now, and that's what social media is. That's what our politics are, and I'm not going to play that game. So,
I remember it was a couple days ago, and then we can kind of segue into maybe what the main complaint was, and maybe we can break that down, right, and kind of go into some of your thoughts on that. But I even remember a couple days ago I had posted in a group. I saw it from a different group, and it was something that someone posted that was it was pretty racist and inappropriate about a certain culture that does things a certain way. And I had posted it and shared it in a different group saying what the fuck is this, right? And everyone else was like, oh yeah, this is very bigoted, this is terrible. And then one random person on there was like, why did you even post this? You're a terrible human being. What the hell? And I was like, this was a share about how terrible this post was. And you didn't even read that. Now you're calling me this? It's come on. Just. Yeah. So luckily I had a couple of people come to bat for me on it. But I was like, man, social media is funny. I don't know. I'm nowhere near where you are. When you post something, just being, someone who's known by everyone in dentistry, you're just going to get more, stuff's just going to happen anymore. But
that's fine. I mean, I always expect to get people to think, but I always hope it would be, thinking and intelligent conversations, and that obviously couldn't happen. So whatever. But what it did, it really uncovered an issue that really needs to be talked about. And it has to do with DSOs. It has to do with private equity. There's some real anger and emotion around that. And I'm not practicing, and, I read it all, and I in the last couple of years in leadership, I've been, very involved in a lot of things, and, we've done some things to hopefully slow all this down. But, private equity is a problem, and it's a problem in healthcare all around. I don't see how it's helping healthcare in any way, shape, or form. They have different goals. Their goals in private equity is to produce multiples, to produce returns on the investor's investment. And our goals as dentists is to provide the best care for our patients, and they don't coincide. So I don't know where it came out that I was pro private equity, but I'm not. I've never been. I'm always about the doctor-patient relationship as a sacred cow. And I'm sure there is some private equity that is doing good for companies that are in the space. But just like in any dentist or in the whole profession, there's some really good dentists. There's really bad dentists. Some are in private practice, some are in ESOs. But it's not all around. And it's I don't know why I just thought of this, but last time we spoke, because I think you made it one of the clips, I got fired from a temp job at a DSO before I moved there, because the practice manager, told me I was doing too many crowns, and she held up an x-ray and said, this tooth could have been a filling. And I asked her, well, what dental school did you go to? And she wrote me a check and told me to get the hell out.
Yeah.
And I gladly did. But, but unfortunately, the young dentists right now don't have that luxury. They can just walk away. The financial constraints on a lot of our younger colleagues is just enormous. And it's, and I don't know how they can, a lot of them, I don't know how they're going to make it, especially some.
Oh yeah. You'll see some of those posts coming out where it's this is how much USC is right now. Right. And someone was posting that either in, dental nachos or one of those groups. And it's holy crap, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's why it's I tell a lot of people and I'm sure you might know the answer to this, but I feel like the military is probably getting more of a popular route than it was when I did it in 2013. Because when I did it, it was if you applied, I was not by any means the strongest candidate in the world, right? And I remember I think it was Army and Navy that were pretty much shoo-in for most people, and Air Force was kind of tough, but I wonder if it's tougher now to get accepted into like the HPSP program or any of those programs where they pretty much they cover your dental school and then you give them service back, right? Do you know if it's harder to get into those?
I still think they're hiring.
Okay.
They're hiring well, because we're in a war right now. We have an administration that wants to make sure our military is ready to go to action and dentistry is part of that, fit for duty. So I haven't heard that they're contracting, but again, I'm not in leadership, so I don't know. It's been 6 months, so.
Okay, so here's my thoughts, because we're right now in the process of going through, or our DSO is in the process of going through, and I'm learning the term is like an equity investment, right? You have to be careful because recap means something different, but I think generally people use the word recap, right, when they talk about it. But I don't know if we're going to see that as much in the future, but I kind of agree with what you're saying. I think some of the colleagues in our DSO, if they have concerns over kind of the future of the DSO or private equity or corporate dentistry in general, it's feeling that they're always going to be at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to financial gains, right? Or financial outcomes. Not necessarily autonomy, because I will say, like, our DSO is not, like, some people will post and be like, they don't let you pick your own composite. That's ours. That's like bullshit. Like, we can pick what we want. They get really good pricing with Shine or Patterson or whoever they've negotiated with. And they, with us at least, do not say like, you have to buy this brand or house brand or this. They've never said that to any of us. So I've never felt an issue with like clinical autonomy. Where I feel like outcomes aren't being met is financially. What you're told when you're going to sell. Like, you should have seen, man, some of the other groups that we were looking at when we were trying to sell to a DSO, they were somehow going to turn, let's just use simple math, $1 million into $20 million in 10 years, right? And so I think a lot of us are like, ooh, whoa, this is going to be awesome, right? Like, it's so easy. You just join with us. We're going to help support you. We're going to recap every 3 years. And every time we recap, we're going to get a 13X. And you're going to grow here. And then you're going to sell this much. And then you get, and it's just, come on, like that isn't, from our experience, that's not what it is, and I don't think it is for anyone. So I think there's a big disconnect between what a lot of dentists, I guess, are being told or sold, right, and what's actually reality.
Well, I think there were some at the beginning.
You were saying like,
years.
If you were a part of Heartland a long time ago, or very early with MB2, right? Like, you probably did well.
Yeah, but now that's not the reality anymore, and okay, but there's still private equity investing into dentistry. Not as much. Interest rates went up and PE pulled back. But we are still seeing a consolidation of many dental offices consolidating groups into large group practices. Are they DSOs? Yes, they're the same. Dental support organizations. They share management and business services. Okay. But when someone says DSO, they think of the big three. They think of PDS Health. They think of Aspen. They think of Heartland. And for whatever, people think of them, there's some great dentists there. And there's doing some great dentistry. And I'm sure there's some shitty dentists there and they're doing some shitty dentistry. Just like in private practice, there's some shitty dentists out there doing shitty dentistry. And there's some great dentists out there doing great dentistry. It's all over the place. But when you're with a group, you're always going to be judged by the lowest common denominator. And so if you're part of a group and you have a dentist that is not performing or doing unethical things, you are, that whole group is now is culpable. And that's the bottom line. So anyway, that's just something that's going on. And can we stop private equity from buying or investing in? I don't know. I mean, there's some laws that are coming down, most states have the law where a dentist has to own the practice. But there's shell games with that.
Oh, there's workarounds. You just make a clinical entity that is just a pass through, right?
Right.
And like it just filters out. That's what ours did, right? Like,
right. And so we're doing everything we can, but I think our biggest lever is the one on ethics. And where, when, we created a clinical autonomy statement that basically says you as a dentist have clinical autonomy from outside forces to offer your patient the best care. All clinical decisions should be made between you and your patient in pursuit of that person getting the best possible health outcomes, not you as a dentist putting money in your pocket, not you as a office owner, lining your pockets, and you as a DSO, for the multiples. So it really, the bottom line is clinical autonomy means that you as a dentist should have absolute say in what you do with your patient in pursuit of their best care. And we hope that this clinical autonomy statement will be utilized in all employee dentist contracts as to be referenced and on ethical behaviors as a practicing dentist, because again, our goal with being a dentist is to provide great care for our patients. The PE goal is to create multiples. There's a disconnect there, but I feel if you're doing great dentistry, you'll make good money. And you'll make good money for your company. So that's the bottom line. Just do it ethically. And most people are. 5% is usually the number that you come up with the fraud. Okay, that's producing fraud. 95% of us are doing great. We're getting penalized for the 5%.
Okay, so yes, I agree with you. I think that conceptually is awesome, right? Like, and especially if you can put it in a contract, right? If you can make that more like law, right? Kind of where like that's something that someone signs, and like that way like the PE firm agrees to it, and you're agreeing to it as a dentist. But you're right? Like at least in the deal we're going through, so like when you have earnouts and clawbacks and you have all these things that are built into how you get paid as a dentist, like let's say for example, you do a recap, your group does a recap with the DSO, and they're going to put in $100 million, and then if your group grows their EBITDA by a certain percentage, they'll put in more money, and then they'll release more funds to you, right? Like that's a structure that you see a lot. Well, that creates a conflict of interest, because what if it's the 11th hour and the group is like, what's their motivation? We got to hit that next investment, right? Otherwise, we can't grow more. We can't buy more offices. We can't grow our EBITDA. We can't get a higher multiple. The PE firm's going to happen. This is going to happen. We're going to have a balloon payment due, right? There's all these things that happen that are completely outside of the most pure thing that it should be, like you said, which is you do right by your patient. And so it creates all of these conflicts where the DSO then, the dentist, is going to start potentially making decisions that you could argue maybe aren't in the best interest of the patient. And so, yeah, I completely agree with you. There's a big disconnect there, especially when it's like, hey, you want an extra $100,000 because you worked your ass off? Well, you guys have to grow 3% and you guys have only grown 2%, right? Like, right. I don't know, like, that's the thing that I kind of have an internal struggle with, right? Is like, I don't know what the solve for that is.
So if a clinical autonomy statement is going to get integrated in employee contracts, you talked about make it a law. Okay. You said that, and it's really hard to make laws. It's really, really hard. And so, and I'll talk about this when we talk about insurance reform. I mean, first thing you have to do is appeal to the parties that could make the difference. So if you're bashing PDS Health, you're bashing Heartland, you're bashing Aspen, and any DSO or anything with a DSO name, they're never going to help us put that in there. We have to be in the room. We have to be at the table. We have to find ways to work together. And this is something we can all agree on, because they are, espousing ethics just like I'm espousing ethics. They're good people. They're not there to do bad things. Just so are we. So, I mean, but we have to do it, first appeal before, we take more drastic measures. And so if I get railed for that, then there's a problem with it'll never change. It'll never change.
Yeah, like you said, I think it's a little bit of, I get it. And I understand when people are passionate about if it's insurance stuff, and like, I hate the games they're playing, and I hate how, rates haven't gone up in so many years. And like, I signed this contract with the insurance. I felt like I had to, and I'm kind of getting screwed. I don't like that. Or with like a DSO, like similar stuff that we're talking about. But like, those companies are so big. Do you think like 100 dentists are going to get together and be like, we're going to stop all all DSOs. Like that's not going to happen. Those companies are so big, like that. I have a problem sometimes when people almost kind of get this like I don't know what the complex is, but almost like a Superman complex, right? Where it's kind of like I'm gonna be the savior and I can fix. It's like that sounds good on paper, but it's like not realistic. So like, don't fucking talk about it, man. Like you can't do it. Like it's like someone literally who says I'm in, in a blue collar, like I'm in a blue collar area. One of our practices is more of a blue collar area. Man, I can't go fee for service. Like it would be awesome if I could. I'm not in Boulder, Colorado, where people just have disposable income. Like it's not going to work. I'm not going to have a sustainable business model and how the current thing is set up. So I can't just say, or I can't be an advocate for like screw all insurance. Like that isn't going to work in my scenario. And so, but I feel like everyone just tries to blanket statement everything because it fits where they're at. I don't know. That's my rant on that.
No, and I would disagree with you. I think you can do a fee for service model anywhere. I do. I was in one in Flint, Michigan, and Flint, Michigan was not the most economic mecca of the world. Okay, 25% unemployment rate, 30% poverty rate. It was, but the practice was doing really well with full mouth reconstructions. But it's a different skill set than what we have.
That's what I was. So that part.
And,
like, Eric doing just like composites and crowns.
If I'm doing like buccal pits all day, that's gonna be hard.
If you do specialty stuff, if you're doing like sleep apnea or you're doing like full mouth reconstructions, absolutely. Who else are you going to go to?
But it's a different level of communication. It's a different level of systems
100%.
Where you have to provide a value statement at every touch, a value so much that the patient is willing to take money out of their pocket and give it to you. And
totally.
I did it in Northeast Denver in Stapleton. I was the very first business open up in Stapleton, not just dentist office. Now there's 15 dentists. Mine was fee for service. I did really well. And 14 of them were insurance based. And we referred to them for the patients that valued their insurance plan more than they valued what I was offering. That's fine. But it could be done. But it's a whole different skill set that most people don't have or are capable of having. And I probably get in trouble for that. So
I get that. Like like one of our good friends, he's worked fee for service practice in Austin, Texas, right? For they've had a practice 20 years, and he does really, really well. The practice does well, but he's like, it's a freaking grind. Like we have to, really, you have to, when a patient is seeing you because of just you and your skill set and what you have, it's a lot different than a patient saying, do you take my insurance? And that's what they value, right? So I am most impressed by dentists who run successful fee for service practices in saturated areas that are general dentists. Like, I think that is one of the hardest things to do because you're a little bit more of a commodity because you're a general dentist. You're not doing full mouth reconstruction. You're not doing sleep apnea. You're in a competitive market where the guy down the street is taking every insurance under the sun and you're still doing well. Like props to you. Like, I feel like that's a really, really tough one to do. And so, I don't know. I have a lot of respect for those people. If you like our podcast, check out Alex's newsletter, Just 2 Minutes. It's full of great advice, which makes sense considering it's her thoughts and not me sidetracking her every 2 seconds. You can subscribe at coupleofdentists.com. The link is in the show notes. Now, back to the pod.
Yeah, and it is hard, but it was fulfilling because I truly had a relationship with my patient. One of my philosophies was everyone deserves to hear what ideal dentistry sounds like for them. And here's what it sounds like for you. And I don't care what insurance you have. This is what I do. I did a ton of onlays. I did a ton of aesthetic work, but patients sought me out. I was kind of a destination, but the people that sought me out because of the value positioning I put myself in, that I was about health, not just oral health, but overall health. And my aesthetics were as good as anybody's. And I was able to create that niche. But the patients that I was attracted to me were ones that were already invested in idealizing their health and they were willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't see a bunch of really rampant decay, except for my mouth practice. Yep. But that's a whole different demographic. But then when I went to an insurance-based practice, it's a whole different clientele of patients. I'm like, wow, I haven't seen cavities like this since dental school. And it was like, wow, I had to recalibrate my my whole treatment planning, but I still treated those patients same way, same philosophy in the insurance-based practice in Landmark. Here's what ideal dentistry sounds like for you. And, lo and behold, a lot of them wanted to do it regardless of their plans. And, but that's my whole career. I've been, doing that. So but anyway, most people have insurance and most people have unrealistic expectations of what their insurance, how useful it is. And the insurance companies have been really good at making us, the practitioners, look like the assholes. And we're not, and so can we shift to insurance? You want to talk about that now?
Let's do it. Yeah. You were like slow segueing into it. And in my head, I'm like, do I need to say it? Do I do like a hard pivot like my brain normally goes to? And I was like, no, I think he's just riding the wave. He's riding the wave into it. So yeah, go for it.
Well, I always want to make sure you didn't have any more other questions. If you got any other question, I'm sure we'll go back to it. But you know how I stand on private equity. Okay. So hopefully that will be clear. Maybe people will understand me a little more. I don't care if you like me or not.
Every time, if we get any like little love emojis or anything like that, I'll make sure to send them to you.
Okay. I need the
Or I'll just send you one just so you feel good.
Alex and Eric hugs. Those are the best.
Yeah.
So I started my practice, I took one plan and I quickly got off it, and it was fee for service. And I hated the insurance company. I still hate the insurance companies, but not the people that work there, but the model doesn't reflect essentialism. It doesn't reflect, what we can actually do with it. It's misnamed. It shouldn't be called insurance. Insurance covers catastrophic loss. Okay. In medical insurance, you pay your deductible, and then they should pay for mostly everything of the big stuff. Dental insurance is the opposite. And it's a plan design that doesn't work. I was part of the team here in Colorado that helped develop the dental benefit in Medicaid back in 2012, 13, 14. And we worked really hard to develop this. And I was never a Medicaid provider, but 2/3 or 2/3 of Coloradans couldn't access dental care. They couldn't afford it. And Medicaid would be a great way for the people who fell through the cracks and lower incomes to find a dental home. And we created one of the best programs in the country. And after I was president of Colorado Dental Association, the trustee from our district, Gary Yanamoto, asked me to serve on the Council on Dental Benefit programs at the ADA. And I said, Gary, I know nothing about benefits. Why are you putting me on this? I'm fee for service. And Gary's like, well, the work you did in Colorado with the public benefit system, the ADA needs to hear more of that. We don't have enough, representation for that voice. And you did a really good job in Colorado. And, and we got some big things coming down the pike with Medicare and Medicaid's always at risk. And, you've got some experience, so we want you there. I'm like, okay, so I did it. And, anyway, in our second year on the council, we came up with an idea of, let's see if we can disrupt the current model, the benefit model system. Let's see if we can put a benefit system, a benefit value product to market that would disrupt the current industry and either create change or put the deltas or the big ones, Blue Cross, out of business. Okay. And I raised my hand. I said, we did this in Colorado in the mid 2000s. I don't think you guys were around yet, but we the Colorado Dental Association partnered with an insurance company, and we started our own insurance plan. Okay. And we invested like $1 million in it. And we tried to get everyone on it. And, and we couldn't sell it. We couldn't sell it. It was better than the traditional plans, but we couldn't sell it. No HR companies would buy it because Delta went around and undercut us by 50% because they had so much in reserves, and HR companies or HR departments that buy the insurance, they don't care. They want
No,
to.
they're gonna say,
Right.
what can I? How can I?
Yeah.
They
how
want
are
to
my
check a
employees
box.
going to be happiest?
Right.
What's the lowest premium? Yeah.
They want to check a box. And,
Yeah.
in a 1 hour discussion with the insurance brokers, the HR department, 55 minutes of that hour is on the medical plan. 5% is on dental, vision, and foot, by a podiatric, I guess, podiatric, but it's an afterthought, and it always is. And so Delta knew that, and they undercut us, and for a couple of years, and we had to go out of business. So I told the ADA that, I told the council, but the council, like, we can do it. Let's try it. So we hired a company called PricewaterhouseCoopers, a consulting company. And, we did a deep dive in the benefit systems and what it is. And, and therefore then we can create a product that would be way better than what's out there. And we can disrupt. So what we learned in the environmental scan of the plans as they are, and I think we might have talked about this at the last one, but I think it's worth saying again, that the current model with 100% for 100%, 80%, 50%, 100 for preventative and basic stuff, 80% for minor stuff, 50% for major stuff. Okay. That plan is, and if you have a $1,500 maximum, less than 6% of the people that have that maximum will ever reach that maximum. It's designed to not use, because when we get to the 50% range, we as a profession are not very good at providing value enough where patients will take money out of their pocket, say, yeah, I should really get that crown, and pay the $600, my part of it, or God forbid that, you don't get your full 50% because you used 800 of your $1,000 max, and, so they'll leave money on the table. And, and so 6% ever reached their maximum. But we found that if we switched it from 100%, 80%, 50% to 180-80, utilization would go way up.
I mean, that makes sense. So just speaking anecdotally, right? Like where I'm at, we have some UPS employees, right? And they have the team care plan, right, by us. That thing has no maximum, and it's like 100% for pretty much everything. Yeah.
Right. So it's
maybe it's 80.
Benefit.
I think it's 80. I think it's 100, 80 for crowns.
Yeah.
Do you know how case acceptance is so much easier on those patients because they're just like, what do I need, doc? Right. And I say, you need this, this, and this. Okay, let's do it. Right. You love all your patients, but from an insurance perspective, they're my favorite insurance patients, right? Because there's very little barrier to them accepting the care that they need. Mm-hmm.
And that's the reality. You have to look at it from the patient's perspective. As much as we think, we have this value that everybody should flock to, we don't. Okay. And insurance has done a really good job, and we've done we've taken it. So we've accepted it. So we've propagated it. But it's hard to get that narrative shifted. And as a fee-for-service person, and I taught at the dental school for 10 years to try and teach these students, you don't have to go into the insurance game. You can be a fee-for-service, but no one had the willingness to go after the soft skills, which are the importantest skills in this is, how you connect with patients, how you communicate, and how you can utilize your emotional intelligence to really lead the patients toward their finest care. No one has that stomach lining to do that. And so the insurance is easy because it brings people to our practice with little marketing. Okay. Yep. So right now we've got maybe a 91% of dentists are taking insurance. It has gone down because people are really pissed off. We'll talk about that in a second, but still 91% of dentists take insurance. As long as that's the case, the insurance company will do whatever they want because they have a network. Okay.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And that's what I was saying when some people are like, just go out of network, do this. It's like, but there's not a critical mass of people that have done it to where it actually makes a difference to the insurance company, because they'll look at their thing. If I'm a dentist and if I'm looking at it from a business perspective only, right? And I'm looking I'm in that lens. In my area, I'm like, I freaking hope everyone goes fee for service in the 5-mile radius. My new patient count's going to jump up, right? Yep. I'm okay accepting these fees. I would actually I would want that. And so I think because like you said, there's that there's even almost an infighting or disconnect between how dentists would want to do it, that I feel like it would be tough to, it would just be tough to implement it.
Yeah, and a lot of dentists like they want to serve the teachers in their neighborhood, so they want to be on that plan. So the teachers come to them. They want to serve the firefighters in their neighborhood, so they want to be on that plan. The military, the veterans, yeah. So it's like everyone's got their reasons, and that's great. Okay, and but the plan is not. It's not. It doesn't reflect the essentialism of what dentistry is. You got that plan that you just mentioned, where it's 100, 180, and no max. That's an essential benefit. You do what needs to be done. Okay.
So anyway, how does that, before you go too far into that, so how does that work then? Because I always think like, well, then where does it come from, right? Because obviously in those patients, I would imagine that plan is paying out more money to the dentist because you've got potentially patients who are doing more work, accepting more work, and they have lower copays because the insurance is covering more. Is their premium more? Is the company they work for just a better company in terms of covering more? Like where is it coming from?
Right. The company is paying more for the benefit. That's what it is. So you get really mad at the deltas of the world, but it's really any plan that you are a participant in, that plan is an agreement between the insurance company and the company of employees. Okay. So the employers. Okay. The employers
in that situation, you tip your hat off to a company like UPS because you're like, hey, you guys are doing right by your employees.
Yep. And in fact, 2 weeks ago, I had a conversation with one of the main purchasers of AT&T National. So they've got 1 million employees. Okay. And they want to provide for their employees, and they wanted to do something. So we're talking about figuring out a plan for them that would, that would work. And it's direct reimbursement, is what they were looking for, which is like the best type of plan. It just makes here, it's an HSA here, take $1,000, do what you want with it. Okay. Yeah. That's great. And so, but they want to do that. They want to invest in it. They're willing to invest because they know it'll make their employees happier and it'll save money on the medical side, which is what the big money is. So, but that's a whole other thing. So we get to the,
so does that end up, sorry, because I know we'll go down a rabbit hole on this and my head's just spinning too, is like, so now I'm thinking, but like those big companies, right? They may say, yeah, that's good, right? Like we want to make our employees happier. Okay, well, we need a list of certain things. Well, low on that totem pole is probably dental, right? Like it just probably is in their head, right? Like, oh, let's give them like a Peloton membership, right? Or let's put a coffee bar in, or give them Netflix, whatever, right? Like that's so. But then I feel like what ends up happening is the corporation is never going to eat into their profit margins. So like if AT&T is like, yeah, we'll give a better plan for our employees, then they're going to say, well, now we have to raise the fee of our contracts, right, of our phones. And they're going to say, well, now this is impacting the customer. Well, now we're going to get less customers to do AT&T, and they're going to switch over to Verizon. So now we can't do that. So I feel like it's just this big moving piece because at its core, the business or the private equity company, right, it kind of goes back to that part, is going to prioritize their margins above others, right?
Right.
Most companies, at least, not all.
Right. No, most will do that. And dentistry is always vulnerable. And we'll talk about that later. And unfortunately that's what it is. But the companies that will invest in their employees, whenever I had a patient that was pissed off at their plan, I'd tell them, go to your HR department and tell them you're pissed off. And I've been to HR conferences as a dentist, and I hear them talk about what do their employees value. And one of the top 3 benefits for work is a dental plan. It's a very coveted employee benefit for companies.
Yeah, I mean, it should be. And look, man, we have a few patients too that Costco, right? Like they do a good job. Like I think, we've listened to Alex had me listen. I didn't even finish it all. I should have, but it was like a 3-hour long podcast. What's the name of the podcast?
It's called Acquired.
And they go through like companies, right? And they like deep dive into them for like 3 or 4 hours. And they went through Costco. And then you listen to it and you're like, yeah, no shit, everyone likes Costco. Like they lead first with their employees, with their customers. Like they understand, it seems like, the concept of if we treat our employees really well, then they're going to be happier. Then they're going to give a better experience to the customer. And then we'll make sure we're good. And they cap their profit margins on certain products, right? Like they only take a certain cut. And so
the model of the business, that's where it all starts. And that, I don't know. I just
Yeah,
so
no,
it was really impressive. Like I really like gained. I'm already like if I had to go to Sam's Club, I'd already feel icky because I feel like I would be cheating on Costco.
Exactly.
Like that's how much I like it. But
Right.
like I appreciated listening to that and being like, okay, it seems like they figured it out and they're super successful and they do really well.
And so on the other hand, the Sam's Club and the Walmarts, okay, they don't value their employees. In fact, when the Affordable Care Act hit, if you had full-time, if you worked over a certain amount of hours, you had to offer a medical plan as a benefit for your employees. So they cut everybody to part-time. Remember that?
Yeah, and I remember too. I remember my mom. I remember like my mom at their age, right? Like my dad is self-employed, so he, insurance is non-existent for him, like unless he gets it through like the marketplace. So my mom was looking for jobs where she could work a bit and get benefits, and she tried to apply to Costco because she said, "I want to work for them. I can work." And work part-time, and they offer benefits. And like she couldn't find a job there though because it was competitive, right? Like it was hard to find a job there. So I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, and I won't go to those. The employees that work there, it's not a fun place to go. I won't go there. I don't go to Sam's Club. I don't go to Walmart. If I have to get something from Walmart, I'll order it and they'll have to deliver it to me. I won't walk in there. Okay. So but that's me. And if you like Walmart, God bless you. Everybody's got their thing. I don't like it. And I don't like the way I'm treated. I want to have an experience wherever I go. But we're getting off topic.
Yeah, sorry.
It's getting late. I know Alex looks tired.
It's my normal look.
She's in zombie mode.
So we developed this plan, 180/80, and we decided we could not offer it into the market at a price point that would disrupt the market enough, and it would be way too much work for way little return. Okay, so we decided to pull back, and we put this on the shelf. Okay, but we all got a deep dive on the insurance plan. The very next year, we start hearing rumors about a dental benefit happening in Medicare, and the board at the time said, "Oh shit, we can't go into Medicare." And I'm like, "Oh God, we can't go into Medicare. I'm fee for service. I don't need the government coming in and taking my profit center. These are my, the baby boomers are Medicare, and they're going to want everything under Medicare now and not going to pay, and I'm like, this is not good. It's going to kill the practices, kill the fee for service." And so the board asked us and the Council of Dental Benefits, if a dental benefit were to happen in Medicare, what would it look like? What would the best case scenario look like? And so we developed a plan, and then again, I guess I'm the most misunderstood person in the history of leadership. But again, I was blamed for, Kessler wants dental benefit in Medicare, and right now I will honestly say I do. I absolutely 100% do, and I'll tell you why. Because we can develop a plan, because it's going to happen at some point, and if we develop the plan as an essential plan, it will be great for everyone involved. It'll be great for dentists. It'll be great for the patients. We've got 85 million seniors that can't access care right now. And as a profession, that's a mortal failure. And we have to find access for them. But we'll come back to that too. So anyway, we put together a benefit plan. And over the next several years, it becomes a hot topic in the dental ADA House of Delegates. It's very divided. And, the president at the time put together an elder care task force. And I felt that elder care task force, and I know it was designed to kill any chance of having Medicare, because the results of that elder care task force were just a joke. And we were, me and a couple other trustees were able to, override that elder care and win a lot of the things in the House. And we developed a policy at the ADA that basically applies to any dental benefit that we advocate for. And so if we're going to go into a private dental benefit company, this is what we're advocating for. If we're going into Medicaid, this is what we want. If we're going into Medicare, this is what we want. Okay. And it's a plan that has to be comprehensive, meaning you get to do everything that's necessary for the patient to make them healthy, first and foremost. Second, the fee schedule is at the 80th percentile of the ADA fee schedule. Okay. That's not 80% of your usual and customary fee. That's the 80 percentile of what 80% of the dentists accept as a fee for that service. So it's a PPO fee, which 80% already take. Yep. Okay, 90% take a PPO. My fee for service is much higher, but for the most part, 90%, 80% of the practices are taking, PPO fees. So that it's got to be that fee service. I don't know where it became acceptable, especially in the Medicaid space, that we as dentists should get paid less to treat poor people. That's bullshit. Okay. Yeah. That's absolute bullshit, but we've accepted it. But in Colorado, we've overcome that. And we've been able to make easily the best Medicaid program in the country. It got cut last year with the budget cuts at the state legislature, but it's still one of the best in the country. But we were getting the 100th percentile. We were getting our full fee for things.
It was good. I took it during that time when you guys were implementing that. Like no one was bitching about that. The joke was like, whoa, Medicaid's not the worst anymore. It's actually one of the decent ones, right? Yeah.
And we went to Delta and said, hey, you're not even producing Medicaid fees. Raise them. Right? I mean, it was great. And they did a little bit. So we saw that as a lever. Anyway, so we want to be paid a decent fee, 80%. And if you don't get paid a decent fee, you don't get a network of providers. So it's not going to work. They give us a shitty fee, you're going to get a shitty network. No one's going to take it. Okay, so we need that. We need minimal administrative burden. Okay, to file a claim and get paid, it can't be a whole red tape nightmare quagmire.
Yeah, dude. Why is you ever watch South Park?
Yeah.
So have you seen when they did that funny clip on like the American health system and it was like a whole song and it was like, I forgot if it was like Butters or someone that was going, and it was hilarious because it was just mocking how like you go to one doctor and then you go to a specialist, but the specialist needs a report from the first doctor, right? So he has to go back and then he goes back to the other doctor again and makes an appointment, and then they take like an x-ray or something like that. But then they need a predetermination from the first doctor for the insurance for that. And like, it's just making a joke of how much red tape there is in the healthcare system. And so like, why the hell, I think a lot of us dentists have this question and you probably know the answer to it. Like, why the hell is it so hard to like verify insurance, to, see what benefits are there, they make it, is that purposefully done to make it difficult? Because I feel like it should literally be like all the payers are on like one portal and you can just search stuff easily.
Yeah. No, it's designed to not use. It really is. And I will go on a diatribe here when the CEO of United Healthcare got gunned down and shot in Manhattan. Remember that? A year and a half ago? And and I wrote a blog about it, that the unsympathetic view from Facebook on his killing, it was justified. He should have died anyway. He killed so many people because of the delay, the deny, depose, all that. And, some CEOs of insurance plans weren't so happy with me when I wrote that because they thought I was condoning killing, CEOs of insurance companies as they were CEOs of insurance companies. But again, on my blog, I put at the bottom, I don't condone gun violence in any way, shape, or form. But again, it got misconstrued. But anyway, I told them, I go, listen, we've been telling you for decades that your plan doesn't work. We don't like it. Now the public's telling you, you've got an opportunity here to make a difference. And, and they started expanding some of their coverage. They started expanding to A1C testing. They started expanding to salivary diagnostic testing, raised their fees a little bit in some areas. Okay. So it's starting to trickle, so back to any plan that we are advocating for. So we want a minimal administrative burden. We want minimal risk for audit. Okay. Cause the audits that come in and you're guilty until proven innocent. And we don't got time for that. Okay. And we want the patients to have choice of the doctors that they want to see. Okay. In the Medicare, the policy at the ADA is that it's means tested, that our policy says that it's only that we will advocate only for people at the 300% of the federal poverty level. Okay. So it's means tested, which Medicare doesn't do. In our thing also, it says no Part B. Because Part B is kind of a mess. And, but I think Part B doesn't have systems that can interface with dental systems. And so we're in the process of connecting that right now. But it will be an essential benefit because there's no max in Medicare. So my father-in-law had a hip replacement and after about 3 months, it wasn't working. And he had pain. And then he found out that the doctor called him and said, "Hey, your hip has been recalled. We need to bring you back." And so he had the hip replaced in January. In March, he had it removed. And guess what? The surgeon got paid to put it in. The surgeon got paid to take it out. All right. And 6 months later, they put it back in. And guess what? The surgeon got paid to put it back in again. Okay. So look at that in dentistry. If our crown doesn't work after 3 months, guess who pays for it? We do. We don't even think about it, but in medicine, that's covered. So if you go 3 hip surgeries in one calendar year, by the way, it was about $450,000 total cost.
Whoa.
Okay. And insurance paid for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Imagine if we had an edentulous patient and countries like South Korea, they just advocated for edentulous patients. They can get 4 implants as part of their public benefit to do as an overdenture or an all-on 4.
We all know Eric wants more friends. If you're enjoying this episode, share the podcast and then tell them to DM Eric so he can hit his quota of 1 new friend per day. Now back to the episode.
As a public benefit. That's what essential health is. Okay.
So what does, because I can hear in the background like the counter argument to everything you're saying with that, and it's going to be everyone who's like, then my taxes go up, right? And like, don't fuck with my taxes, right? Like, I don't want I don't want this to be Canada, right? I don't want huge tax rates. So like, what's the, like, in theory sounds great, but like, what's the expectation though then? Is the average American going to be paying more in taxes for that?
Well, I mean, money's got to come from somewhere.
Exactly, right?
But does it have to go towards a war in Iran? Does it have to go towards, building more tanks? Does it have to go towards, other things? I don't, but it's all choices. Yeah,
so the argument is where you're going to do a better job of just.
But our government always finds money for things that's important to them. Okay.
Okay.
And
yep,
that's true. Fair. Okay. And so, well, let's just limit it to medically necessary. Absolutely. And that's what we're going with Medicare. Okay. We're going with medically necessary. People who have, are undergoing oral cancer treatments, radiation, get those teeth fixed before the radiation starts and be able to maintain them. And Medicare now covers that. Okay.
Does Medicare then cover, is medically necessary like edentulous, right? Like you can't chew. So like you could argue like, loss of function, loss of being able to have a proper diet, all that stuff.
No, it doesn't cover that.
Okay.
In some cases it would, but for the most part, it's removal of infection, which I think is absolutely incomplete. And that's a whole other podcast that we'll talk about. But medical, so heart valve replacements, okay, high risk, those kind of things, organ transplants, those are all medically necessary. Okay. And where dentistry, if it's not addressed, you're on a kidney dialysis for 5 years, you finally get a kidney transplant donor, but you can't get it because you got a tooth infection after 5 years of dialysis. Okay. That's not acceptable to me. Okay.
Yeah. That literally, I just had a patient who's he came in like a week ago and he needed the dentist to sign off because he's been on dialysis daily for years. He's number 1 on the list. And he had to get signed off, and luckily he was healthy, and there weren't any issues in my opinion that prevented that. But man, that guy was so like he like wanted to hug me, and and so how much I was like, holy crap, this like I don't see it from my perspective because I'm not going through that, but I was like, holy shit, this meant a lot to this guy.
Yeah, and it's medically necessary.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because if there was an infection there, he wouldn't be able to fight it. He's on immunosuppressives for the rest of his life. He's compromised. Yeah. So he's got to stay healthy. And so absolutely, we should do that. But then if you look at medicine, let's go back to the hip replacement analogy again. Is a hip replacement really medically necessary? Will that patient die if they don't get their hip replaced? But yet, if I had degenerative joint disease in my hip, I can get a titanium rod placed in there, but I can't get one here. And I could get it if I have Medicaid as medical benefit. Okay. If I'm poor, I can get it. If I have private insurance, I can get it. If I have Medicare, I can get it. But I can't get one here in any form. And if you want to hear the real irony of this, guess who developed all of the prosthetic joint replacement technology? Some dude named Brannemark. Remember him?
Yeah.
Brannemark. Remember? Okay.
Mhm.
Dental implants, developed this entire specialty of medicine. That's a 25 to $30 billion a year industry. And we can't access it. And we developed it.
So then on this, to kind of wrap all this up, to kind of full circle it, because you brought it up in the beginning, you were talking about like PDS doing a health thing, right? And I think you're kind of you're riding the wave into this next part, which is like the whole medical and dental like combining, right? Is kind of, I think, what you're getting at. So I guess this isn't meant as like a promo for them by any means, but like what are your thoughts on that piece then? Like what's the solution for it?
There's a lot of mountains we have to climb there. And so, PDS Health is doing it in the DSO space. FQHCs are doing it where physicians and dentists are working under the same roof. The schools are doing it. There's a bunch of like pediatric dentists and pediatricians that are doing it. They're combining. It's starting to happen, and it's happening organically. So there's a lot there.
We should do that on a whole. That would be a whole interesting thing as like another episode to do, I think, where we could go through how the integration of dental and medical, like what's the goal, the 30, 40-year goal for it, and how is it happening now, and what would be like the ideal, right, in the future. I think that would be cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wrote an article about it, and it's going to probably be in Dental Economics in the next couple months. But yeah, let's definitely get back and do that. But anyway, so, I think Medicare would be one of those areas where we could, develop an essential health benefit that would be, we'd be able to do major work for our patients in the spirit of improving their health and life. Okay. And with no $1,500 max. And so, but anyway, everybody takes this plan that we're in, this 180/50, and I think or 91% of practicing dentists take at least one. 100% of dentists hate it every hour of every day, and we've hated it forever. But it used to work really well. I mean, we all did pretty well with it. We hated it, but we did okay, right? Yeah. We have good lives, and but the fees, reimbursements haven't kept up with the cost of living, with inflation, with the CPI, and it's not working anymore.
No, it's not, right? Like back in the day, I would imagine, right? 20 years ago or so, right? When you were, say, starting your practice, right? I think whether you say you're fee for service or PPO, I mean, I would imagine where most practices, and like we're talking like profit margins, right? So like even after you would pay yourself as an associate, let's just call it all expenses, including what it costs for a dentist to do the dentisting, right? Were margins like 30%-ish, right? Like, was that considered pretty good? Because like nowadays, I feel like it's half of that, right? And if you're running a really, really good practice and you've got really high reimbursement rates, you're really dialed in on your supply costs, you're really dialed in on your labs, you're dialed in on every other metric or KPI that you use to say, this is how my practice is run, then maybe you're at like 20 to 22, 23 maybe. And that's a good fucking operator. Whereas I feel like maybe in the past, it could have been like, I was at 30% margins and I was like, like I didn't pay attention. Is that true?
Well, yes. I mean, there's some that are doing it even better. If you follow D'Angelo Webster and his practice biopsy Facebook site, he's a great guy. He's brilliant, and he's teaching dentists how to be lean and mean. It's all come full circle back to the Kushner way with Comfort Dental. Okay, and they can do it lean and mean, and he's doing good dentistry. He's doing good work, and he's teaching dentists how to do it. But most dentists don't care. They don't do it. They don't pay attention enough to do that. And unfortunately, so this benefit that isn't working, we know it's not working. Patients are now knowing it's not working. And I think it's directly affecting our workforce, because we can't offer our team the career opportunities that we used to be able to offer them even 10 years ago. I mean, I was lucky enough to keep my, my key employees for many, many years in my practice.
I know. I always hear that with people, and I'm like, I know it was a thing, right? Like that. I feel like you want to date yourself as a dentist. Say how long you've kept your core employees for, right? If anyone tells me I've had my office manager for 10 years, I know they're probably like at least in their mid 50s or early 60s, right? Because all of us and we're not like saying we're young dentists, but I feel like
no, it's different.
It's so different. It's like 2 years. Hell yeah, right? Like I've had my hygienists have just hit their each of my hygienists have passed their 1 year work anniversary, and I'm like, that is an A+. Like I'm celebrating. Right.
And the bottom line is the good employees are going to have to pay them. And every year they want raises because life gets more expensive every year.
Yeah.
And, and so my overhead went up because of my employees, and they deserve raises. My rent went up. My electric bill went up. My phone bill went up. My lab bill went up. My dental materials bill went up. But the reimbursements either haven't gone up or they've gone down.
And that's shit, but that's kind of the shit then people get mad about.
Right.
And this is rightfully so with DSOs, right? And I think it's not every DSO, it's some of them, is certain DSOs will take every plan under the sun, right? And then they add custom shade fee, custom lab fee, they're charging $150 if you want to do like desensitizer, right? They're charging, and so they end up gaming the system, and it screws over the patient because now you've got a patient who's on an HMO. I've worked at a DSO that did this, and it should have been for them. Their benefit should have been, it was $200 that maybe you get reimbursed, by, I don't know, Aetna HMO or whoever it was, right?
Yeah.
And somehow the patient ended up paying like $1,000 out of pocket. And even in my head, I was like, oh, that just felt kind of gross.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about, the clinical autonomy and doing the right thing. Because that's not the right thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we also have to make our ends meet. And so people get creative. And so either people are going to go out of business or there's going to be a lot of fraud. And that's really what's happening. Okay. Yeah. But I know plenty of private practice dentists that are doing it too.
That's the point. I think, and I agree.
I heard from young dentists that are
Alex and I can agree with you with that. Once you've got your hat on, that you're like, and that's a bigger conversation for another day, is like once you've got the hat on where I'm business owner first, right? It doesn't matter if you're a DSO or you're a private dentist. It's just the scale at which you can do it, right? Like you're going to do the same shit as a private dentist that maybe a DSO does that's shady too. You can just, 500 offices versus one office is different, but I agree. So like that's a whole nother thing on like, what should always come first. Yeah.
But that's where, the insurance companies are operating from the 5% that are known to do fraud.
Yeah.
And so they're penalizing the other 95%, but they know who the fraudulent ones are, but they're saying that to keep everybody down is really what it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we've been spending all sorts of time and effort to try and, regulate the insurance industry from this, because I hear it all the time. Well, if the ADA would just get the insurance companies it's freaking hard. Okay. So I've appealed. I've sat across the table from dental insurance company CEOs, a lot of them. And I told them they suck. Okay. And they're like, okay, what's next on the agenda? They move on. They don't care. There's nothing we can do. So we have to, if we can't appeal to them, then we have to go other routes. And so regulating them is one way, creating laws to help them play in the sandbox better. So let's talk about DLR. This is another beauty. Okay. California instituted a transparency DLR law 2012, 2013. All they demanded was that dental insurance companies show their, dental loss ratio. How much of their premium dollars they collect is going towards dental care. Okay. Affordable Care Act, Obamacare comes in. This is before this law comes in and says all insurance companies are mandated to be at an 85% medical loss ratio. Okay. And so medical companies, which are way more complex than dental companies, they could do it at 85%. So, but California creates this law for transparency. And, the insurance commissioner then gets the report of all the dental insurance companies, and they see some companies that are in the 80 to 85% range, but then there's some companies in the 20 to 25% range, meaning 20% of the premiums collected were going towards dental care. 80% were going towards what they call the administrative costs. Bullshit. Okay. Whoa. And the insurance commissioner said, hey, clean up or get out. And many of them did, or they got out. Okay. They cleaned up or they got out. So 3-4 years ago, Massachusetts comes up with a DLR ballot measure, and they had the 85% ratio as what they were going for, and they went right to the public. It wasn't a legislative decision where you had to go lobby your legislators. They went to the streets. Ballot initiative. So it was on the ballot. You voted for it, or you voted against it, just like you voted for governor that year. Okay. And they did a huge PR campaign. ADA was solicited to help them with it. And I could tell you it was pretty controversial and whether we should or we shouldn't. My opinion on this, and we ended up supporting them, but my opinion on it was, I think this is an opportunity, win or lose. It's an opportunity to show the dental profession that we're not just saying we're fighting against the insurance. We're putting our money behind our actions. We're going to give them we gave them $5.5 million to do that. Okay. And I didn't know if we'd win or lose because it's a ballot initiative. You don't know what the voters are going to do. But they ended up winning 71%. Okay. Which is a mandate. That's a huge victory. They did really, really well with their marketing and their PR. And I was damn proud to have supported them. And I still am. I would do the same thing again. Okay. But ballot initiatives are very expensive. And the ADA could not afford $5.5 million for every state to help them with the PR to make it happen, and the strategies, because every state is different and every state legislature is different. It's much easier. It's really freaking hard anyway, but it's much easier to do through the legislature than through a ballot initiative. Okay. But it's still freaking hard. And so that was the way we were going. And, when California instituted it 10, 12 years ago, I brought it to Colorado because I was president of Colorado, and I was working with the president of California, good friend of mine at the time, Jim Stavins, who was on the board with me, and Walt Weber. Both of them were, gave me the playbook, and I brought it to Colorado, and nobody would even listen to us. They're like, what the hell is this? And that was only for transparency. And so we had to put it down. Even though it was a great idea, we couldn't get anyone to run with it. Okay. And so, we get this mandate in Massachusetts, and we want to get DLR to pass around the country. And many states, it's a non-starter, the 85%. It's an absolute non-starter. You know why? Because most of the legislators are funded by the insurance industry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And dentists don't give a lot to the political process, even though we've got money for AdPAC, even though in Colorado we've got CODPAC and our small donor committee. Okay. We don't have a lot of power like the insurance companies do. So they were already bought before we can even get it. So we had to work with the legislators who had interest in insurance to develop a plan that would at least start the conversation. And I could tell you, in Colorado, we passed a transparency law to get benchmarking, because that's what they asked. Like, where'd you get the 85%? Tell me where in dentistry it is 85%. Yeah. Where's the standard? There is none. Okay. Yeah. And I could tell you 3 years now, Massachusetts passed it 3 years ago. And so what does the DLR do? So it should, in theory, improve utilization. Right. Okay. But remember, the plan design is designed to not work.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the goal, this is what I was working on at the ADA when I was in leadership over the last 20 years, in my involvement. I don't know if they're working on it now or not. I'm not involved. Okay. But I just want to make that clear so people don't get mad. But we were working on, getting the DLR passed around the country in any way, shape, or form to show that utilization still doesn't go up, because it's the plan design. And if we can now say it's not going up, but we know the plan design, if we go 180/50 to 180/80, utilization would go up, and our citizens, your voters, the people that vote for you, will be healthier and happier, because remember, dental benefits is a coveted benefit. Okay. People love it. We can increase utilization. Oh, but then, you hear from the dentist, well, they haven't raised the maximum since 1972. 5%, 6% of people that have it ever get to that maximum. The insurance company doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
They say that, well, no one ever gets to the maximum. Why should we raise it? No one wants it.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. It's kind of like use it or lose it thing. And they're like, well, no one's hitting it. Right. So why are we going to raise it? Right. So you kind of, And then, So the big plan, the long game was DLR across the country, 180/80, 180/50, then remove the cap. Okay. So that has to happen in each state. So that's 50 states. Okay. It's not going to happen overnight. There's no way we can make it faster. Okay, let's make it go faster. We get all these things happening in the States. So like recently in Colorado, we did a network leasing law that we prevented insurance companies from leasing our services down the river without our knowledge. It used to be an opt-out. Now we have to decide if we want to opt in, okay, which was bullshit that we have to spend several $100,000 to do that, okay? But that's how much it costs to create a law here. And even then it's iffy, right? And so we did that. And that will help people, but I consider those kind of things, it's just like dinking around. Okay. Is it going to make a real big difference? No, it'll help a little bit, but but that's what we know. That's what we are used to. We're used to this stupid plan and we all take it. We want it to work better, but it's not working. If Henry Ford were to ask his customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. Okay. I'm talking about taking it from dinking around. That's a faster horse to let's build a rocket ship and blow it all up and do it right. Okay, and get a truly essential benefit where the work that we do will provide more health and better health for our patients, for our communities. And when that happens, we're going to be successful too. It's a win-win, but it takes time. So then, so we get all these things that we're dinking around in the States. Okay, but then there's this kind of plan called ERISA, which accounts for about 60% of all dental plans, and it's federally administrated. Okay. ERISA can come in no matter what you do in your state. They can come in and say, well, we're federal. We can do whatever the hell we want anyway. Oh. So we tried to close a loop on that. And so there was a federal court ruling that say, hey, ERISA plans, you got to follow the state. But then there was a federal ruling in another district that says, no, you don't have to. So what do we do about that? We wrote a letter to the Supreme Court. We wrote an amicus brief and say, hey, we don't know what to do here. You got, one court saying this, one court saying this. What do you do? And then we were hoping they would make a ruling. They opted not to hear the case. So we can't do it legislatively, changing the laws. We can't do it judiciously by encouraging the Supreme Court, the U.S. Supreme Court. Only the ADA has power to do that. Okay. And they denied it. Okay. Appealing to them, they're like, whatever, they're not going to do it. Okay, so another thing we did, 2019, we took Delta Dental to court. This is my first month on the board. And class action lawsuit, all 50 states, to shut down the monopolistic systems that they're doing that are not reimbursing us at the proper and driving at a proper level, and they're driving treatment decisions based on that. Okay, and so just this year, 2026, year 7 of this lawsuit that we filed, okay, we were part of a class action lawsuit. The court decided to not consider it a class action lawsuit, so they decertified it. So now if we have to do this, we have to do it in all 50 states. Okay, we're screwed. Just today, I found out that 4 states are going to keep it going, and they've refiled lawsuits: California, Wisconsin, Michigan, Massachusetts. Those 4 states are going to go after the monopolistic. And maybe if they can get those 4 states to do it, then maybe some other states will look at that and we can be successful. And I'll tell you, I hope the ADA would be supportive of those states that are doing that. But we can't afford to do a 50-state class action lawsuit on our own. In no way, shape, or form we could do that and still have an organization. So we've tried it by appealing to the insurance company executives. They don't care. We tried to legislate our way out of it with these dinking around. They don't care. We took it to the Supreme Court. They said no.
We've taken it. Then there's an ERISA law that we've got going through the U.S. legislature right now, so the House and the Senate, to shut down this ERISA law loophole. But we can't get enough sponsors to get it going. So, and the last thing last big insurance reform that we did federally was McCarran-Ferguson. And McCarran-Ferguson, it took us 12 years to get it passed at the federal level before it finally got passed. Okay, so there's no quick solution here. The quickest solution, honestly, is either you don't take it if it doesn't, don't take the insurance if it doesn't meet your business values or what you want to do. I can't say we should all quit and take, and stop taking that. That would be antitrust. So I'm not saying that. But because they have the market share, they've got the power. We can introduce our own, and that's pretty hard. Or we can look at other ways, and that's what we're doing, and I'm outside of the ADA, I'm doing things like that. So it's tough. It's really tough. But it is I see if we can establish dentistry as an essential health, because it is essential, and we get a lot of benefits from that, including, being able to provide comprehensive care, but including loan repayment opportunities and HRSA grants and student loan opportunities. So it would be great. And then the public is, I think, our biggest lever, and Medicaid, Medicare. We did it in Colorado, and we got a plan that was better than the private, and the private will have to keep pace with that. So that's where we're at.
I know. No, that's awesome. I mean, that just helps a lot, because I always like when someone is passionate about something and knows a lot about it, so then I just become more informed. I think that's always nice, right? That's the one nice thing I like talking about, or talking to you about stuff, is I feel like you've been in dental so long, you have just a wealth of knowledge that it helps make people become more informed decision makers, right? So even if everyone's still fuck you, Kessler, right? They can at least but at least you're more informed, and it's a better decision, right? I appreciate that you're educating and you're kind of teaching people all of this stuff. It I think it just helps. It helps everyone. So I appreciate it.
And thank you. And everyone's got a great idea. If you just do this, everything will be great. And because I've got a great idea, everyone should also think I've got a great idea. It doesn't work like that.
Oh, okay? It's like my one. I'll end it on this. It's like my buddy who is a good software developer. He's developed he developed Flex, right? Dental, and then sold it, right? He'll see people post on Facebook now, and they'll be like, I can make my own AI receptionist, or I can make my own AI this and do that. And he's like, if you only fucking knew, man, you can't do it. Do you have a BAA? Is it HIPAA compliant? Do you have X, Y, and Z? And so a lot of us dentists, and I'm at fault for it too, right? We just think it's so easy, right? Oh, I'm a dentist, I'm smart, it's all so easy. And I think your just good long explanation on all of that explained how it's not that simple. And that's the same thing he goes through. And he's like, we're working on our own stuff. And he's like, now do you see how tough it is? It's not as easy as just saying I'm going to have Claude build this for me, and it builds it in an hour. It doesn't happen that way. And it seems like there's a parallel to what you're saying, right? With
and the ignorance has a voice, unfortunately. Yeah. And, and God bless the people in Massachusetts that created the DLR. I think it's the best law we can ever get. Absolutely. But being on the Council of Dental Benefits and being on the board of trustees for 8 years, for 10 years now, I've gotten to see the legislative agendas for each state, what they're working on, what they're successful with, what they're not successful with, and why, and what their legislative priorities are. And so there, the people that made a law in one state, they made a law in one state. There's 49 other states that are completely different, that have different legislative priorities and lift different people in their Congress that have passions and things they don't like to deal with. And so legislative strategy is a very strategic process. And it can't be just, well, I've got a good idea, and because I've got a good idea, everyone should like my idea. It is a great idea. It's the best law in the country. But where's all the money? Okay, I want to send wheelbarrows to the people that started it, so they can, to hold all that cash they're supposed to be collecting in, because they're so flush with dentistry, because the DLR is going to fix everything. It's not going to fix everything. It just illustrates the lack of utilization of the benefit system that doesn't work. Yeah. So that's what we have to do, and we have to focus on.
Yeah.
My opinion.
All right, well,
my opinion.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. You've been good at that. Someone's been coached well by an attorney, I feel like, or someone that's told that. No, but anyways, I mean, we got to continue the conversation. We need to continue to schedule these out, and it's always fun. I feel like we just rant about 1,000 different things, and it's fun.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And, you guys have a good thing going, and I love what you're doing, and I think you're making a difference. So thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks. All right. See, we won't see. He just said that so we wouldn't end it with "fuck you, Brett." Right? No, it has to be love.
It won't be the first
right?
time, and it definitely won't be the last time. So it's okay.
Cool. See ya.